Boker Tevach Shavua Tov. We are learning Mishna Bava Kamma, Perek Vav, Chapter 4, Mishna Daled, Mishna 4. We learned the first part of the Mishnah. Let's just read from the beginning and get to where we got up to Friday. One who sends a fire in the hands of a deaf mute, an insane person, or a minor, Pater b'dinei Adam. That person is exempt in the laws of man, Chai b'dinei Shamayim, but he's obligated in the laws of heaven. Shalach b'apikech chayav. If you send it in the hands of a competent person, that person is now is going to be obligated for the destruction that the fire makes. Okay, that's how far we covered on Friday, and now we'll continue. Now, echad hevi es ha'ur, v'echad hevi es ha'etzim. One person brought a flame, the other person brought wood. That's the definition. One person brought the flame, one person brought the wood. And what happened? The person who brought the wood then put the wood on fire. Right? Meaning he brought the wood, put it on the flame, and now he created a fire that could spread and do damage. The way it's going to spread through a common wind. But the point is that the first guy had a fire, do anything, and now that he went in and he lit a piece of wood, that's not going to make a strong enough fire for a wind to spread it. Maybe the one who brings the wood, he's obligated to pay. He's considered the one who created the fire that can damage. What if the case is one guy brought the wood, the other guy brought the flame? Now the other guy brought the flame, and then what did he do? He lit that wood. So he brought the fire, which again is the potential of the damage. The guy who brought the wood, that doesn't do anything. The fire, again, alone wouldn't have done anything, but it's the potential damager. And now he went and he lit the wood. So now he's the one who created the fire. Therefore, Hamevi Esa'ur Chayev, the one who brings the fire, is now going to be obligated to pay. So far we have the second guy who basically makes the fire. He's going to be the one who is responsible. Now, another person came in. A third person came and blew on it. Now, what that means is that in this, whoever brought it first, whoever brought it second, didn't matter. The point is, you didn't really have a fire. The wood, it didn't really catch fire enough that it's going to make any problem. However, somebody came now and blew on it. So by blowing on it, he fanned the fire. Now he made the fire big enough that it could spread in case a wind comes and cause damage. Hamalah b'chayev. So it's now the blower who's going to be liable. Then the other people aren't going to be liable because what they did did not create the mazik, create the damaging fire. It was he did, because he now, by blowing on it, he made it become, not spread it. He made it into a flame, made it into a stronger flame. Now, lib saharuach. If let's say what happened was, again, the fire, the wood together, nothing was really happening. And now what got the fire going was haruach, a wind came and blew it. What kind of wind are we talking about here? We're not talking about a regular wind. We're talking about an unusually strong wind. That's the wind that now made this fire into something that could spread. Then we say kulam pturim. Then all of them are going to be exempt, because when you're dealing with an uncommon wind, that's considered something beyond your control. That's not something that you're responsible for, and therefore, in that case, if it's the unusually strong wind that blew on it, all of them are going to be exempt. So, and as I bring down over here, since they are not required to expect such a wind, they're not obligated to pay for any resulting damage. In all the preceding cases, the last person is liable only if the fire he created was capable of spreading in a usual wind. That is the typical case of the fire. You have a fire. There's nothing around it. The way I would say it is nothing around. It's not like a forest fire where you have all this stuff right in front of the fire that can make it spread. Right? The fire is where it is. It's localized. But now a wind comes and blows it, and that makes it, spread or fly, whatever you want to call it. So now, in all the cases before that we said, the guy who brought the wood is obligated, the guy who brought the fire is obligated, the blower is obligated. All those are because what happened was it was spread by a usual wind. In our last case, actually what you have here is an unusual wind that's actually the wind that's making it into a damaging fire. Not only because it spread it, it turned it into the fire. And therefore, it could have been an unusual wind that made the flame into a real fire, and then had it spread by a regular wind, But that's not going to matter. The point is that when the case is that the unusual wind is what set in a flame, what made a flame or made a fire that can damage, then already that's when we say everybody's exempt. Okay, next. Hashoyleach es habe'era, someone who sends a fire. Sends a fire means he lights a fire in his own premises and it spreads with a regular wind into somebody else's property. That is your classic case of the damager of Aish. Okay? You're not talking about you walk over and you light somebody else's stuff. I mean, that's of course Aish too. But this case, and a very typical case of when you say sending a fire, it doesn't mean that you sent a fire, literally. You made a fire in your premises, but at the end of the day, you did not guard it from a regular wind blowing it into somebody else's property to damage. So Hashalech Zabe'era, one who sent a fire, Va'achla eitzim, and it went to somebody else's property and it ate and it consumed wood, Ayavanim, or let's say it blackened stones, Ayafar, or it scorched the earth, which they explain now, the fire scorched the surface of a plowed field and damaged it. Since the earth is now dry and hard, the owner has to plow it again. That's cost, that's money. Okay, so now, if any of these things happened, Chayiv, you're obligated to pay. Shenemar, as it says, Kisei Eish, Umatza Kaitzim, if a fire shall go forth and find thorns. V'nechal Gadish Ayakama Ayasada, and then a stack of grain, or a standing grain, or a field is now consumed, it's now burnt. Shalei Mishalei Mamavra Sabe'era. The person who made the fire has to pay. So, my understanding of the pasuk is you made a fire in your regular domain, right? Mm-hmm. But again, it's not protected enough from a regular wind spreading it. It spread to thorns. The thorns was now the fuel for it to spread, and now it spread into somebody else's property and damaged. That's my understanding of the pasuk. But that point is that the point of the Gemara is to say that you see, the Mishna rather, you see that the Torah said that what happened? It burnt a stack of grain, or standing grain, or the field. Mm-hmm. What do you mean the field? The field means the field itself. This is how the Mishnah is trying to show us from the Psukim that if a fire scorched ground, right, or blackened the stones on the ground, those are all the field, you're going to be liable. Why would I think otherwise? So they explain here on the bottom, the verse teaches that the person is liable even though it is unusual for fire to damage stones or earth. Call it unusual. But if it happened, the Torah is saying you're obligated, you're liable, you have to pay. So again, the problem in this case, the spread of the fire was regular. That was not uncommon. You made a fire, you didn't protect it enough, it spread in a very common way that you didn't protect from, that's your fire. The Torah is telling us something novel in the sense that things that typically don't get burnt, but did get burnt, you're still going to have to pay for it. Okay, we will continue from here. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi. Because they have cases where someone